great opportunity to share our knowledge and our experience in such high level in international conference on civil defense. Just imagine that in the 21st century, firefighters and rescuers have to wear bulletproof vests and armored helmets in addition to their combat clothing. Ukrainian rescuers nowadays work in extremely difficult and dangerous conditions under the constant threat of repeated shelling, etc. Despite all threats, our rescuers are eliminating the consequences of the terrorist action of the Russian Federation around the clock. In total, since the beginning of the war, State Emergency Service of Ukraine units have made more than 180,000 involvement to eliminate the consequences of enemy shelling. The priority of our services today are as follows. First of all, is extinguishing fires. Since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, more than 22,000 fires have been extinguished and more than 5,000 people have been rescued. And this amount increasing every day and every hour. The next one priorities is conducted emergency rescue operation, during which near 1,000 people were rescued and near 4,000 bodies was unblocked for this construction. Engineering works, in total more than 2,000 buildings and structures destroyed by shelling, and hundreds of thousands of tons of buildings have been moved. Another priority is the demining. Demining of objects and territories. Since the beginning of the war, demining units have inspected almost 168,000 hectares, while neutralization about near 550,000 explosive items have been diffused. And this amount also increased every hour because we have sheltering our territories every day and every minute. Organizing the life support of the affected population. It's such more high task for our State Emergency Service of Ukraine. Delivered more than 170,000 tons of drinking and industrial water and more than 14,000 tons of food in all corners of our country. The next one is the radiation and chemical protection. This priorities is more highly under the rocket shelter of our territories increased every day. The population and territories where we deployed more than 400 radiation and chemical observation posts and monitoring this situation in our environment, in our Ukraine. The next one is the participation in evacuation activities. More than 2 million people, 80,000 people were evacuated and psychological assistance was provided for more than 270,000 people. In particular, rescuers are still evacuating people from the areas of hostilities in Donetsk, Sumy, Kharkiv and Kherson region. All these priorities say us some specialities which start from the full-scale invasion in 2022. And from the Russian military aggression forced us to completely revise the algorithm of rescue action during emergency response and firefighting was changed in some way. And I would to tell shortly about these changes. The main threats in the aftermath of shelling in critical infrastructure and the residential sector. It's a repeat missile and artillery strikes. The Russians are deliberate using such tactics to kill as many rescuers as possible. The risk of collapse of building structure during emergency rescue operation was we use special equipment to monitor the stability of emergency structure to warn rescue in advance. The following factors greatly complicate the task, which we have for nowadays. First of all, it's a large areas of work. For example, in Kharkiv, 25 of May in 2024, the Russians used air bombs on a shopping center building. The fire areas was more than 3,000 square meters. You can imagine how it liquidation and extinguishes that fire. The next one, concentration of a large number of personnel and equipment at the site of the shelling. It's another problem. Work at height. Simultaneous work at several locations. For example, on 8th of July, there was a massive shelling, 15 facilities in the city of Kyiv, 4 of which resulted in large-scale destruction and large number of casualties. And in all these facilities, in all these points, should work our units. And you can understand that we have a lot of lack of staff, a lack of vehicles, but we try to help all our people. The presence of large quantities of fuels and lubricants at oil depot and the energization of fire protection facilities and systems which significantly accelerate the development of fire at the initial stage. And the lack of communication, as well as failure of warming system, especially in the frontline territories. Next, I will briefly inform you about the specific performing task to eliminate the consequences of emergency caused by shelling. Service documentation for facilities should be restricted, and after the missile strike, it's necessary to conduct radiation and chemical recognitions. Personnel should be provided with armor protection, individual first kits, and turnstile. It's important. The response of the shelling should be accompanied by medical teams. Information is exchanged with military authorized and law enforcement agency on the operation situation and safe roads. If possible, communication is carried out through closed channel with the military authority. You can understand why. For the period of the threats of repeated shelling, personnel and equipment can stay in the permanent deployment point or move to the nearest safe areas. To assess the situation and organize response measures, after the shelling, one unit headed by senior official is sent first. The movement of the unit to the scene is carried out along the safe road with an increasing distance between vehicles. The location of nearest health case facilities to the place or call, as well as safe places to make shelter and evacuation routes in case of repeated shelling or being specified. The person responsible for monitoring this airspace and receiving air raid warning signals due of a second strikes is determined to withdraw personnel to a safe place. Environment control of CO2 is carried out. Special equipment, machinery, and engineering units are used to clear the rubble, allowing people to be free from the wreck of destroyed building quickly. Modern methods and technologies are being used, including video, acoustic, and infrared search equipment for victims and in the rubble, and of course, canine teams are mandatory engaged to search for victims under the rubble. On the peculiarities of extinguishing fire at oil depots warehouse as a result of enemy fire damaged. The degree of damages, the condition of the bond, and the ways of each oil product spread and determined, and firefighters is organized. Tactical firefighting robots are used to minimize the threat for personnel, for staff of our services. It's necessary to involve engineering equipment to equip the bonds to prevent the leakage of burning oil products. The presence of ammunition residue to extinguishing site is determined. A communication officer is identified in case of communication breakdown and places for personnel to take cover in case of repeated shelling. The personnel are informed of the task and procedure safety measures, the signal to leave the danger zone, and take cover in case of threat to repeating shelling. Unmanned aerial vehicles are used to control the situation and adjust operational action as well as other means of video surveillance in case of withdrawal of personnel under the threat of repeat shelling to monitor the situation. The main efforts are focused on the protection of surviving tanks and use and controlled burning of oil products within band. If oil products spill outside the bund, additional protective and guiding shafts are installed to localize the spill or divert it to a safe place. Railroad tanks located on the siding and loading rack are moved to a safe place outside to the oil products warehouse. On extinguishing fires at thermal power plants and power centers after enemy fire damaged, we have some specialty too. Interaction with the power plants on duty personnel in organized the operational situation is clarified, and the personnel in the affected building, the presence of live electrical installation, and the possibility of supplying power from the supporting substance. A written authorization to extinguish the fire is obtained from authorized personnel, and a safety briefing is conducted. It's not allowed to accumulate personnel in rooms with live electrical installation. Personal work in dielectric means and fire hydrants and fire truck pumps are ground. It's mandatory. Sprayed water, air mechanicals, foam, and fire extinguishing powder are used to extinguish fires in the engine rooms, boiler room, and cable tunnels as combine or mix this process. How power generation are used to run fire water supply system or high-capacity motor pumps to supply extinguishing agent to fire extinguishing system and replenishing tanker. During firefighting rescue, use personal respiratory and visual protection equipment during the all work. And do not use, of course, air mechanical foam to extinguishing electrical installation and equipment under voltage. On extinguishing fire on the territory of transformer substation after shelling, we have some cases and speciality too. First of all, interaction with the shift supervisor at the power substance is established, the situation is clarified, which electrical installation pose as dangerous to the personnel during firefighting, and permission is obtained to extinguish the fire. Rescuers are not allowed to stay in prohibited areas near high voltage installation and power lines. Measures are being taken to ground. The barrels and pumps on fire and rescue vehicles are to provide personnel with the electric means. Air mechanical foam, sprayed water, or fire extinguishing powder are used to extinguish fire. Transformers and other oil-filled electrical equipment. Fire hoses are supplied through the opening of the bus bars, and emergency oil drainage from transformers is not allowed. And I would like to thank you for your support and inform that all people in Ukraine and the Special Emergency Service of Ukraine in particular appreciate to unwavering support and assistance from your country and whole Europe, and all assistance which provide to Ukraine, all equipment, property, and supplies provided are actively used for extinguishing fire, liquidation, emergency situation, and we can understand, and you can understand that all these things, tools and equipments, modern equipment, are spread to whole country for help people and save life. We are confidently moving towards our common victory, ours the terrorist country that threatens to entire civilized world. And for the end of my presentation, I want to show you the real fire in an oil depot in Zhytomyr, which happened on 18th of April 2024. And you can see with after three shelling of Shaheds, we have destroyed all oil depot, and you can see in which conditions, which dangerous and high threatness or high dangerous conditions our units are worked. For this, our staff used the special thermal clothes. Of course, for liquidation this fire, we use fire robots for cooling the nearest tanks, but without all these kinds of equipment and tools, of course, it will be spread for nearest villages and have more and more dangerous for environment for that time. Thank you.
Well, there are quite some questions, many questions, but we have 8 minutes actually to it. Okay, I start. As it mentioned, that you work in the university, as you understand, teaching students right now.
Yes.
From where did you gain that important experience and information? And did you participate in liquidation of those disasters, resolving the disasters? It seems that it must be useful for giving such an experience for your students.
Yes.
So where did you get your experience?
Nowadays, all lecturer or staff of our university have practical in Kharkiv, Zaporizhia, Mykolaiv, Kherson, Sumy, Chernihiv regions, and we are going to a 3-week practical to help units in such regions. We name it like a frontline regions to do some works or additional works with rescue operations, with organize a rescue operation in some kinds of education and education citizens and education peoples, and one of the last one is used our staff in Kharkiv, where the Russian bombing the children school with the children, and our staff help rescue 74 children for this school after the shelling. Yes, all of them is alive, but it was also very dangerous for children.
Every day. This work you are doing must be really tough on every aspect. Who is providing the psychological aid during the evacuations?
During education?
Evacuations, let's say.
Evacuation.
Okay, that's for both actually. When you're doing evacuation, who is dealing with the civil population? But what I also want to know that how do you get the support in the psychological domain?
In the State Emergency Service of Ukraine, we have the psychology, separate psychology services in like a staff, and in every regions, in every cities, we have such peoples. Mostly it's girls who gives psychology support for all people, for all citizens who suffered from this and affected from this sheltering and dangerous conditions in all cities.
Mm-hmm. Do Ukrainian rescuers carry firearms for self-defense? And if you do, has it been justified? If not, should you? And how should the Geneva Convention be interpreted in such a situation?
For now, from the first day of full-scale invasion and for today, Geneva Convention don't work in Ukraine. I said about the Russian troops, because every day we have sheltering of rescuers, and it's a big and very big problems for us. It's a secondary shelling when the first units come to on the place, help people. They start shelling one more and want to kill more and more rescuers on site. It's rescuer, policeman, or medical. It's not matter for them, and they all do it all the time. That's why we have some recommendation how to what we should to do. As I mentioned in my presentation, every time one of the rescuer should be see for the air, for against the drone attack, etc. That's why it's like lessons which we have from the starting the full-scale invasion in 2022.
What are the most important means or tools for national and regional governments to support the actions on the ground?
Underground?
No, on the ground. Let's say to support you. What does, let's say, the oblast level? How they support your activities?
Of course, in our region, especially in front line, we have a very good collaboration with local authority because they're very interesting and maybe the most interesting to have the safe territory to save their people which still live in their territory, and they try to give us all things from the from the some food, drink water that we can provide to the suffering people who live near under the front line. They provide all things like equipment, tools, etc. Can buy separately from our services and provide to our units because they understand that it's very important to help our units stay in our department in such territories because every day, as I said, we have some bombing of our department in such territories. That's why every day for rescue more and more hard to stay in such territory. That's why they try to provide all these things, and of course they help to provide all building with the shelter, especially fire department with the shelter where the rescuer can have the safe duty for whole 24 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What role do expert volunteers play in your efforts, and at what level and with what legal status they are operating? Volunteers, experts.
Volunteers in the first year. In 2024, from the beginning full-scale invasion, volunteers help us more than 60% to evacuate people from these territories. It was very great job, very great help from them because from the beginning you can understand that State Emergency Service of Ukraine can spread all these tasks which we have in 1 day for our services, and of course helping from volunteer organization to organize evacuation from this territory, organize providing these people for life support, for some supplies, for help people, help children to move in a safety territory, to the safety, or move under the border in other country. It was very helpful for us because for the first time we have, as I said, a lot of tasks which we should involve or we should resolve first of all, like liquidation, the biggest fire on oil depot, engineering, substance and energy facilities of our country.
Lots of questions I need to select, so this is where the part of my decision comes into the force. Talking about the people and how they can support themselves also as a first line. Let's say in addition to any normal recommendations, food, water, shelter, etc. Yeah. Were there any other special preparedness equipment recommendations given for the civilians in your country? For instance, respiration masks or something. And if yes, then how has it worked out?
For nowadays, you said?
Yep.
For nowadays, the most recommendation is have a power bank or another energy supplies, because we have for nowadays a big problem with the shelter of our energy facilities of our country, especially in front line Chernihiv, Sumy, Kharkiv region, where people can have an energy more than 6 hours for a day, and it's continuous every night, as usual. That's why for nowadays we recommend for our people get some power banks or electrical generators or another types of spring of electricity or energy, and of course it will be good for them if they have some breath masks for in some case for chemical pollution, for example. Of course, yeah, we have some recommendation.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Andrii.
Yeah, you.
Really.
Yes, thank you.